This video made possible by Thunderbird Perch. Taking magic seriously? If you wish to be considered a scientific-minded person, you'll probably know that you really shouldn't believe in the occurrence of events commonly referred to as supernatural. If there was something to that sort of thing, surely the greats of science, such as Newton, Bacon, Boyle, Mercurius, and Einstein, would have told us. Andreas Zoomer, ForbiddenHistories.com. Yes, surely they would. And they did and still do. Many scientists today believe in so-called paranormal and supernatural topics. They just learned to not talk about them in public. The taboos are social agreements, and as such, they move at the ploddingly slow speed of society and are highly effective in controlling public discourse. A taboo against psi and magic has been especially tenacious because we've been endlessly told by skeptics and other malcontents that only crackpots hold those beliefs. Some religious leaders also sustain the stigma because they loudly insist that these topics are demonic. Academics studiously avoid psi and magic, except when whispered about behind closed doors, or discussed in historical terms, or portrayed as what people foolishly believe as weird shit. The temple is reinforced from all sides, yet everyone remains fascinated by psi and magic because most people, including the majority of academic scientists at top-tier universities, have personally had one or more psychic or magical experiences. Despite this, as historian Andreas Zoomer notes, anybody who has carefully studied the vast psychical research literature produced since the 1880s and the critical responses to it should agree. It can no longer be doubted. The data suggests that something strange is going on. In short, we are dealing with pretty revolutionary stuff, clearly demonstrating that the still prevailing worldview of 19th century physics is in urgent need of a facelift, to put it mildly. Ask a random scientist if he or she has ever studied any of the psychical research data published over the past 150 years. Chances are that your question will either be met with a shrug or a reference to Wikipedia entries debunking all these studies. This obvious pseudoscience are written by skeptics who presumably believe they are saving science from charlatans who are trying to scam us with pseudoscientific gobbledygook. But the reality is that skeptics uncritically toss everything they don't like into the same unacceptable basket. Then they actively lobby to prevent legitimate research from taking place. Sociologists of science Harry Collins and Robert Evans, who studied these organizations, felt that scientists should call them out. They wrote, "After all, among other things, scientists are there to help us know whether there are paranormal effects, but their input should be based on their best scientific efforts. Ex-cathedral statements or dirty tricks are of no special value, nor should scientists surpass their responsibility to outside groups." I might have said powerful. The taboo is so powerful that it turns out that Karl Popper, one of the most prominent philosophers of science of all time, was convinced of the existence of paranormal phenomena, but absolutely rejected the idea of studying them scientifically, without bothering to offer a rational explanation why. There are endless contemporary examples of willful ignorance that sustain the taboo. I will describe a few examples, followed by a few counterexamples. The strange case of Freeman Dyson. In Scientific American, the journalist John Horgan wrote a blog with the title, "Freeman Dyson, Global Warming, ESP, and the Fun of Being Bunk-Wrapped." That last term meant wrapped or fascinated with obvious bunk, like religious beliefs and superstitions. One of the most prominent physicists of the 20th century, spending much of his career at the acclaimed Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey. The bunk in question is that Dyson admitted in an interview that he believed in ESP, extrasensory perception. This bothered Horgan, who asked, "Should a scientist who believes in extrasensory perception, the ability to read minds, intuit the future, and so on, be taken seriously?" Apparently not, because it encouraged Horgan to add insult to injury by writing that Dyson disclosed disbelief in his essay "One in a Million" in the March 25, 2004, New York Review of Books, which discussed a book about ESP. His family, Dyson revealed, included two fervent believers in paranormal phenomena, a grandmother who was a notorious and successful faith healer, and a cousin who edited the Journal of the Society for Psychical Research.
Horror, the
The peer-reviewed journal mentioned in that passage has been published continuously since 1882. The society that publishes it, the Society for Psychical Research, was founded by the most prominent British scientists and intellectuals of the day, including several Nobel laureates, and it continues to report peer-reviewed historical, scholarly, and empirical evidence. But besides glossing over that important piece of history, Horgan failed to report what Dyson actually said about his grandmother's and cousins' interests. Far from saying his kin were cranks, Dyson did not dismiss them. Their beliefs were based on personal experience and careful scrutiny of evidence. Nothing that they believed was incompatible with science. But Horgan wasn't deterred. In another piece for his blog, he asked, "Brilliant scientists are open-minded about paranormal stuff, so why not you?" His choice of brilliant scientists included the computer pioneer Alan Turing, the Nobel laureate physicist Wolfgang Pauli, the Nobel laureate physicist Brian Josephson, and once again, Freeman Dyson. Horgan quoted Alan Turing, who said that paranormal phenomena, such as telepathy and telekinesis, seem to deny all our usual scientific ideas. Turing, how we should like to discredit them. Unfortunately, the statistical evidence, at least for telepathy, is overwhelming. It is very difficult to rearrange one's ideas so as to fit these new facts in. Once one has accepted them, it does not seem a very big step to believe in ghosts and bogies. The idea that our bodies move simply according to the known laws of physics, together with some others, not yet discovered but somewhat similar, would be one of the first to go. Did Turing taking psi seriously mean that the rest of us should? Not necessarily. Brilliant scientists believe in lots of things for which there is no evidence. Sure, but Turing didn't say he believed in something with no evidence. He specifically said that the evidence for telepathy was overwhelming, and the evidence for telepathy is far better today than it was in Turing's day. Horgan looked at a few other brilliant people who believed in psi. In fact, he failed to mention more than 200 famous scientists, authors, poets, artists, and inventors, including 33 Nobel laureates. The curious case of John Wheeler? Burton Gardner was a mathematics and science popularizer who wrote extensively about skepticism and pseudoscience. In a 1979 article in the New York Review of Books entitled, "We could list cases all day, but the pattern remains. Skepticism often preempts study. Gatekeeping follows. Policy, funding, and publication barriers effectively prevent legitimate inquiry. So, many scientists believe quietly and speak only behind closed doors. Why does the taboo persist? Social velocity, reputation risk, career safety. Taboos move at the slow speed of institutions, where fear of stigma overrules curiosity. Meanwhile, the data do not disappear. They accumulate quietly. Anybody who has carefully studied that literature should agree something strange is going on. We may be looking at revolutionary stuff that suggests the worldview of 19th century physics needs a facelift. This is not a call for credulity, it is a call for study. If there are real effects, let rigorous methods find them. If there are not, let rigorous methods show that too. What has no special value are ex-cathedral statements and dirty tricks. Science should not outsource its responsibility to outside groups. The question remains, not whether belief is fashionable, but whether the data deserve a fair look. Taking magic seriously does not mean abandoning science. It means asking if experiences labeled paranormal conceal lawful phenomena we do not yet model. We can demand pre-registration, robust controls, transparent data, and long-run replications. We can test claims like telepathy with blinding randomization and power analyses that withstand scrutiny. We can explore mechanisms, informational, neurological, or physical, without presupposing answers. If anomalies persist, perhaps some assumptions about closed systems and locality need revision, as history has seen many times. Taboos once mocked those shifts too, until data forced the change. Even Popper, convinced phenomena existed, refused study. But that refusal is not a method. Testing is. The literature since the 1880s is not a monolith. It is a terrain of studies, debates, and methods. Read it. Skeptics who lump everything into one basket miss distinctions that matter. Yes, fraud exists, so do artifacts, but signals can remain after corrections. The public fascination is not ignorance, it is often experience. Most people have stories. Many scientists do too. If something novel is here, it will not violate reality. It will broaden it. Let verification, not ridicule, close the case, one way or the other. If giants could entertain the evidence, perhaps we can too, with better tools and clearer norms. Not credulity, not dismissal. Open inquiry. Sigh. Fact or fiction? The honest answer is, study decides. And for study to happen, taboo must loosen its grip. Open the files. Read the methods. Replicate the effects. Let the chips fall where they may. We look at methods, meta-analyses, and mechanisms. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share.